Hello, this is Ofori, founder, host and producer of The African Dream, your human interest chat show that tells the authentic African story from an African perspective. This show would not be possible without contributions from our fellow African dreamers across the globe. Today's edition will be featuring Peter Bossman. But before we begin, we want to let you know that our conversation with Mr. Bossman was conducted by Isaac Agbasi. Isaac Agbasi is one of the Europe-based correspondents for TheAfricanDream.net. He is a youth empowerment activist originally from Ghana in West Africa, who is now pursuing graduate programs in international studies in Italy. Isaac traveled to Piran in Slovenia to interview Peter for today's show. Peter Bossman is a Ghanaian-born Slovenian medical doctor and politician. He is currently serving as mayor of Piran, a city and municipality in Slovenian Istria in southwestern Slovenia. He is a member of the center-left Social Democrats, who defeated the incumbent mayor Tomaž Gantar in the October 2010 mayoral elections to become Slovenia's first black mayor. In 2011, he was also appointed to the Committee of the Regions of the European Union. My name once again is Ofori, and I invite you to sit back, relax, and enjoy as Isaac Agbasi takes us on a journey into the life of Peter Bossman in today's edition of The African Dream.
Peter Bossman made history by becoming the country's first black mayor.
Kaj bi lahko dosegel v Gani?
Kampanja res je bila zelo agresivna. Morali smo zmagati.
Moč je bil iskren, ker je želel dejansko delati za ljudi.
Sodelavci nimajo iste cilj kot jaz, imajo svoje osebne želje.
Jaz vem, da v politiki bo pregorelo.
So my name is Peter Bossman. I was born in Ghana, 1955, so I'm quite old. My father was a doctor and a diplomat, and he worked quite closely with Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, the first president of Ghana. So my father actually opened various embassies in Northern Africa for Ghana. So he was the first ambassador to Tunis, then Morocco, Algeria. Later on, he went to France, to Paris, and then his career ended as a diplomat ended in 1966 when he was appointed the High Commissioner of Ghana to the United Kingdom. In 1966, of course, there was a coup. There was a coup in Ghana, and he was recalled to Ghana by the military government that was. That toppled the regime of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. All this time when my father was traveling, we were traveling also with him as children. I was sent to England to do my primary studies, so I was in England. And later on, in 1966, when we returned to Ghana, I went to school at the University College in Cape Coast. The primary school in University College in Cape Coast.
Sure.
Yeah. And then later on, I went to Infant Spim. After Infant Spim, I spent some time actually traveling. And then in 1977, I had to leave Ghana. I had to leave Ghana because at that time, of course, there was of course, the military were in power. And we, as young students, we did a lot of agitation against the then military government, and I decided to leave Ghana. And the only country that would give me a visa, actually, at that time, was Yugoslavia. And so I left Ghana in late 1977 with a visa to come to study in Yugoslavia. When I got to Belgrade, there were 4 of us who came from Ghana at that time. When we got to Belgrade, then the gentleman who met us was from an office that received foreign students here in Yugoslavia at that time. He asked, "Who's Mr. Bossman?" I said, "That's me." And he said, "You're going to Slovenia." I had never heard about Slovenia. I had never even heard about Ljubljana. I protested, but he said, "Oh, Slovenia is a very nice place. It's a nice part of Yugoslavia. It's because Yugoslavia was then a federal country, and one of the units of that federation, of course, was Slovenia." So I ended up here in Slovenia. I then did a language course for 6 months. Then I took the exams to enter the medical faculty. I got into the medical school and studied my medical studies. In my 4th year of my medical studies, I met my future wife. She's Slovenian of Croatian descent, and we decided to get married on one condition. I gave her one condition. I said, I want to go back to Ghana when I finish my studies. And she said she also wanted to go to Africa to see, to see how life was in Africa. So when we finished our studies, we decided to go to come to the coast of Slovenia, Piran, because I didn't like snow. So I decided to come to the coast of Slovenia. To come away from the snow and to come and work here because they needed a doctor here who could speak English. Because this is, of course, a touristic part of Slovenia. A lot of people come to this part and they needed someone to work as a doctor for tourists, and they employed me.
So would you say that transfer has been a blessing in disguise today?
Yes, it is, because then as you know, I ended up living here, staying here, and not going back to Ghana.
Sure.
How that happened? Actually, it happened in a very, very surprising way. When the first time I worked in this outpatients for tourists, when after the season, I was supposed to end working here, and a doctor here broke his arm, and somebody had to replace him. And they asked me if I would replace this doctor, and I said okay. So I worked in his outpatient clinic of this doctor, and I started to work here in this community. I started seeing the problems that were in this community, especially with the young people, with the youth, and I started actually being very active with the youth, sort of organizing them, seeing the problems they had. I was very, very active in certain programs for young people who were a bit disturbed, who had difficult family backgrounds, and that made me, I think, very, very popular amongst the people here.
I think stories have been heard that when you were at school in Ljubljana, I mean, you were presiding over about 200 African students.
Exactly.
So it means you even brought it from Ghana.
Exactly. I've always been very, very active. I've always believed that we have to contribute something to our community. So actually, as you said, I forgot even that part of my story. When I was studying in Ljubljana, we organized what we called the Africa Students Union, and I felt it was very, very necessary for us to tell the African story here in Slovenia, or Yugoslavia in Slovenia, because a lot of people thought or didn't know much about Africa. They had us as a very stereotype that we were all poor. We all came from very poor backgrounds.
I think there's a very funny story I overheard. One of the guys speaking to me about that a little kid was asked that, do you know Peter Bossman? And they said what the little child was saying was the black man who walked from Africa here. And everybody was laughing because like he knows who you are. So it means, just as you're saying, they really don't know Africa, but your presence here and some others have really carved a niche in making African presence being felt here. Would you say that has, in a way, affecting or directing their foreign policy at the diplomacy level? Because recently, or over the past 6 years, they normally try to organize African Day. I was a participant this year, and you can see it's a foreign policy tool to get on board in Africa. Not only in Africa, but to be globally recognized in Europe and elsewhere. Would you say your presence, because I know you're affiliated to the government in a way, so would you say your presence really work in a way to help?
Definitely, not only my presence, but also the other African students who are here, who have stayed here in Slovenia. are contributing to this relationship between Africa and Slovenia.
Sure.
There are a lot of them who are married with Slovenians and they're doing business back in Africa and vice versa. And I think that the Slovenian government has also seen the potential of Africa, because Africa has a big potential. And if you look at the past, for the past maybe 7-8 years, China has been a very big player in Africa.
Sure.
And we've been trying to tell the European Union all the time, and telling them, look here, if the Chinese see a potential in Africa, then you have to see a potential in Africa, even more, because a lot of African countries were former colonial countries with Europe.
Sure.
And that should be your basis. So I think that the Slovenian government has also seen that potential. And it was 6 years ago they started this Africa to be so organized of this Africa Day, and it's grown and it's growing.
All right. Just to ask, I believe somebody will say you've really arrived. I mean, you've made impact in the life of humanity, and that's no doubt. Being a foreigner and now becoming like a pure citizen and leading in the commune like this as a mayor. I just want to find out, what are some of the principles that have really guided you over the past years? I mean, I believe there are certain things that have really guided you as a person that have brought you this far.
Mm-hmm. I've always said that in whatever community, if I returned to Ghana, I would have been very active in my community in Ghana. I stayed here. It was by fate. I stayed here in Slovenia, in this community, and I was very active in this community. You have to win the trust of people. So trust means that you have to tell the truth all the time.
Sure.
It means that you don't have to lie. You don't have to. You must be very open about what you can do, what you can't do. You have to be honest. And I've always said that I don't want to be a tool in somebody else's hand. And I think that's what has guided me in all my career as a doctor and all as a politician. I've never let somebody guide me. I've always stood by my principles, by what I believe in, and that is honesty, truth, and the desire to help my fellow man. That is my main desire, my main goal in life. I should help my fellow man who may be not as fortunate as I have been.
Sure, that's very true and inspiring. And again, for such a position, I know currently you are the mayor of Piran, and you also happen to be a member of the Community of Regions of the European Union. And I believe not only that, but the appointment with France, serve on so many committees that I can't mention because of time. I must think there must be pressure that comes with this work.
Yes, this is very difficult to combine all my different roles as a mayor of a city, of a community that is the principal tourist destination in Slovenia. Then, of course, as you mentioned, I'm a member of the Committee of the Regions. I have their different roles. I've written some opinions on migration and integration in Europe. I get invited to different conferences. Yesterday I received an invitation from the President of the European Parliament to take part in a discussion on migration again, as one of his special guests. So I must say I've been very active. It's been difficult, but I enjoy that work.
Would you say there have been pressures from the national or local community that have really affected your way of operation per your principle that you just mentioned? Maybe the government might say something that you might think you're not willing to, but per politics and diplomacy, you usually have to.
No, I think that I've made it very clear, even in my own party. I'm a member of the Social Democrats, and I've always made it clear that if I don't agree with something, I will also say that I don't agree with it. If there's a position I don't agree with, either I'm very quiet, I don't mention it, or I tell them, I tell it about, or if I'm asked, I'll tell it, my position. And I think that my party, Social Democrats, they know me, they know that I'm a person who, I don't change my principle because of the party line.
Sure. I've
never done that, and I never will do that. So I think they respect that. And I must sometimes, even before they go public with certain policies, they ask my view because they don't want me to be against it. So they ask my view on it. I think that's very, very important that people know that you're a principled person, that you won't give up your values and your principles because of politics or party line.
Yeah. And going local, since you come from Ghana, would you say, or do you think Ghana's political landscape currently gives a hope for the future as a person? I mean, I know if you're in Ghana, you surely will be playing a certain role in a certain dimension, maybe even president. So, I mean, being here, and I know you have a relationship with Ghana, I'll shortly come to that, but do you think Ghana's political landscape gives hope to the outside world and within for the people?
Yes, I think so. Firstly, Ghana is a good example of how democracy can work in Africa. Because as you know, now for over 20 years we've been having elections, we've been changing governments, and there hasn't been so much problems with that. I've been following Ghana politics for the past 20 years. I've been seeing the different parties that have come to power. I've seen some good that they've done, some good, some bad that they've done, or some things that they should have done and they shouldn't, and they haven't done. I hope that this new government, which I have a feeling is very, very business orientated, will succeed, and that they will go a step further in Ghana's development.
Thank you very much for that brief answer. Just to go back into that, just wanted to know, per your pedigree, maybe I believe so strongly that you should be helping Ghana or Africa in that dimension. What have you done in the past, or what maybe are you doing in helping Ghana first and maybe Africa in that dimension?
I think since I've become a very public figure, I've been promoting Ghana all over the place. I've been promoting Ghana here in Slovenia as well. People, because first of all, everyone knows I'm from Ghana. I always tell them also that I'm from Ghana, and I've sent quite a number of companies to Ghana to go and do business in Ghana. About 5 years ago, I was with the then mayor of Accra. We started a project. Unfortunately, we didn't finish that project for waste disposal in Accra with a company here. Those are the things. But I do promote Ghana wherever I go. Whenever I go in Europe, I promote then Africa. Because I believe that even after so many years, a lot of European people have a very they don't have all the information about what is happening in Africa.
Sure. Looking into the future, where do you see yourself? Do you see yourself taking ministerial position in Slovenia or in the EU, or even becoming a prime minister in Slovenia?
No, I don't have such ambitions to be prime minister of Slovenia, or even going to the Slovenian parliament. I don't have that ambition. I think I would like to continue my work with the diaspora. I think I would like to continue my work with the European Union with regards to Africa. And that's where I see myself in the future. The other thing, of course, is that I'm a doctor by profession. I have my clinic. I still enjoy my work as being a doctor. So if even I don't go into that political field, I can always go back to my job as a doctor. And
so are you still actively practicing as a doctor?
I do actively practice, not as much as I would like. I go maybe once every 2 weeks to my clinic where I do some, I see some patients, I look through all my documents and so on from patients, or some patients ask me for second opinion and so on, and so I do that. I still do that.
Okay, before I take the final one, I just want to ask, what is your African dream?
My African dream. I really believe in Africa as the next powerhouse of the world. And I would like to see that we should eradicate ignorance in Africa. I think that is what is pulling us down. That we should eradicate ignorance, because once we eradicate ignorance, we will eradicate everything. We will eradicate famine, we will eradicate poverty and everything. And this is ignorance is the thing that is holding us back. And we should. There's so, I sometimes think, our elders in the villages are so wise. And I can't understand why there's so much ignorance in Africa, because our elders are so wise in the village.
In your final words, I believe aside your position and what you do, surely you must have been receiving recommendations from people. You need to go back to Africa to help. What do you normally tell them?
Yes, I tell them, yes, I will go back to Africa to help. I will go back. I'm very sure about that, that I will go back to Africa and I will help, and I'll go back to Ghana surely. And I've always believed that age is not a problem, and as long as I can walk and I can think and I can help Africa, I will do that, and I will certainly go back to Ghana. I will certainly go back to Ghana and try and play my part in the development of Ghana and Africa.
Sure. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been speaking to Honorable Peter Bossman, the Mayor of Piran. As he said, he also serves as a member of the Committee of Regions of the European Commission, which is a sub-national wing of the European Union in decision-making in Europe. And he also serves on a lot of committees. And we are so much pleased as AfricanDream.net to have him. This is the African story, and you've heard it yourself. We are not saying it. I mean, that's from the horse's own mouth. And by quoting him, he always has a principle in one word that he always says. He said he's a Ghanaian by birth, an African by blood, a Slovenian by choice, and an European by ideology. And from the discussion, you can see this a man who is so passionate to seeing that things are done right because of his principles, and who is so passionate to see that lives are changed in Africa. We are so much pleased to have you.
Thank you.
Have a nice day and enjoy your weekend.
Thank you.
The African Dream is very much grateful. Any word for African Dream?
African Dream, continue your good work. You have to get the story out about Africa, Africans in the diaspora, Africans who are working for Africa.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was Isaac Agbasi interviewing Peter Bossman for TheAfricanDream.net. Join us again when we bring you another exciting guest on our next edition of the show. Thank you for joining us on The African Dream.